You already ate today. You might have eaten 3 full meals. But right now, as you read this, your body could be quietly running on empty. Not empty of calories, empty of the nutrients your cells depend on to keep your heart steady, your nerves firing, your bones dense, and your vision clear. This is not a rare condition. It is not a disease that strikes the unlucky few. Nutrient deficiency in older adults is one of the most widespread and most overlooked health issues in modern medicine. And the reason it goes undetected is simple. It does not always announce itself with dramatic symptoms. It whispers, it signals, it shows up on your fingernails, behind your eyes, in the way your legs feel at 2 in the morning. Today, we are going to go through 30 of those signals. Some will surprise you. Some may stop you mid-sentence because you have been living with them for years without understanding what they mean. Let's begin. Sign 1. White spots on your fingernails. Look at your nails right now. If you see small white flecks embedded beneath the surface, not on top but inside the nail itself, that is your body flagging a zinc deficiency. Zinc is not a mineral most people think about, but it is active in more than 300 enzymatic processes in the human body. The white spots appear because high sugar intake depletes zinc faster than the body can replace it. A nail grows slowly, which means that spot you see today reflects what happened to your biochemistry roughly 3 months ago. Sign 2. Oily or congested skin. When the sebaceous glands, the oil-producing structures beneath your skin, become overactive, it is often because androgen hormones are running unchecked. Zinc plays a critical regulatory role in controlling those hormones. When zinc levels drop, the skin's oil production can surge. This is particularly relevant in older adults whose dietary variety may have narrowed over time. Sign 3. Cracking at the corners of the mouth. The medical term is angular cheilitis. It presents as small, painful fissures at the corners of the lips. This is a textbook sign of vitamin B2 deficiency, also known as riboflavin. B vitamins are water-soluble, which means the body does not store them. They must be replenished consistently through food, and any disruption to diet or digestion can produce a deficiency within weeks. Sign 4. Cracked and painful heels. The heels of the feet are among the first places to reveal a B vitamin deficiency because the skin there is subject to high pressure and constant stress. When riboflavin and niacin levels drop, the skin loses its ability to regenerate normally. Vitamin D also plays a secondary role here by supporting the gut microbiome, which produces B vitamins internally. Sign 5. Flaking skin around the nose and forehead. Seborrheic dermatitis, which presents as greasy, flaking skin around the nose, forehead, and eyebrows, is closely linked to an imbalance between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Most people consuming a modern diet are significantly overloaded on omega-6 from processed oils, while dramatically underconsuming omega-3. The skin is one of the first places that imbalance becomes visible. Sign 6. Yellowing of the whites of the eyes. This is called scleral icterus. It indicates that bilirubin, a yellow byproduct of red blood cell breakdown, is accumulating in the bloodstream rather than being cleared through the liver and bile ducts. The underlying issue is often a deficiency of bile salts, which are essential for keeping bile fluid and flowing properly. In older adults, this can also indicate early-stage gallbladder dysfunction. Sign 7. A chronic, persistent cough. A cough that will not resolve despite no clear respiratory infection is frequently associated with low calcium levels. Calcium is involved in neuromuscular function throughout the body, including the muscles and tissues of the larynx. When calcium is insufficient, those structures can become spastic and hypersensitive, producing a chronic cough that has no obvious source. Sign 8. Bleeding or swollen gums. The gums are richly supplied with capillaries, and those capillaries depend on vitamin C to maintain structural integrity. Without adequate vitamin C, the walls of those tiny vessels become fragile and permeable. The gums bleed during brushing, appear red and swollen, and may recede over time. This is one of the earliest signs of subclinical scurvy, which is more common in older adults than most physicians expect. Sign 9. Difficulty seeing in low light. Night blindness is one of the clearest clinical indicators of vitamin A deficiency. The retina contains photoreceptor cells called rods, which are responsible for vision in dim conditions. Those rods depend on retinol, the active animal-derived form of vitamin A, to function. Plant sources such as beta-carotene require conversion, and that conversion becomes less efficient with age. Sign 10. Persistent chapped lips. Lips that crack repeatedly despite the use of lip balm are typically deficient in riboflavin. The recurring nature of the symptom is the critical clue here. External moisturizers do not address an internal nutritional gap. The tissue regeneration process that keeps lip skin intact requires consistent B2 availability. Sign 11. Swelling in the ankles and feet. Pitting edema, where pressing a finger into the ankle leaves a temporary indentation, is often a sign of potassium deficiency. Potassium governs fluid balance across cell membranes. When potassium drops and sodium is disproportionately high, fluid migrates out of cells and pools in the lower extremities. In older adults, this is frequently mistaken for a cardiac or venous issue before nutrition is considered. Sign 12. An unusual craving for ice. The medical term for craving non-nutritive substances is pica, and craving ice specifically is called pagophagia. It is strongly linked to iron deficiency anemia. The precise mechanism is still being studied, but research suggests that chewing ice may temporarily stimulate blood flow to the brain, providing momentary relief to a system depleted of oxygen-carrying red blood cells. Sign 13. Chest tightness or angina-like pain. The endothelial lining of the coronary arteries is among the most vulnerable tissues in the body to oxidative stress. Vitamin E, particularly in its tocotrienol form, acts as a fat-soluble antioxidant within arterial walls. When vitamin E is chronically low, the arteries become increasingly susceptible to inflammation and plaque accumulation. A diet heavy in refined flour products, which strip out natural vitamin E during processing, is one of the primary drivers of this deficiency. Sign 14. Nighttime leg cramps. Magnesium is at the center of muscular relaxation. It functions as a natural calcium antagonist, preventing muscles from contracting too hard or too long. When magnesium is depleted, muscles lose this regulatory break. The calves, which bear the greatest load during the day, are typically the first to cramp. Studies published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition have linked low dietary magnesium to increased frequency of nocturnal leg cramps in adults over 60. Sign 15. Irritability, anxiety, or difficulty calming the mind. Thiamine, or vitamin B1, is the primary fuel for the central nervous system's regulatory centers, including the amygdala, which controls emotional responses and the perception of threat. When thiamine is insufficient, the nervous system becomes overactivated. The result is not just mood instability. It is a baseline state of internal tension that makes it difficult to relax, settle, or sleep. Sign 16. Asthma that worsens in winter months. Vitamin D functions as a potent immunomodulator. It regulates inflammatory pathways throughout the respiratory tract. Research from the University of Colorado found that vitamin D deficiency is significantly more prevalent in individuals with chronic asthma than in the general population. The seasonal worsening of asthma symptoms correlates directly with the decline in sun exposure and therefore vitamin D synthesis during winter months. Sign 17. Thinning of the outer eyebrows. The outer third of the eyebrow is among the most metabolically sensitive areas of facial hair. Thyroid hormones regulate hair follicle cycling throughout the body, and iodine is the essential mineral required to synthesize those hormones. When iodine intake is insufficient, thyroid output declines, and the outer eyebrows are often among the first areas to thin or disappear entirely. Sign 18. Chronic tightness in the right shoulder or upper back. The phrenic nerve originates in the cervical spine and innervates the diaphragm, but it also carries referred sensation to the right shoulder and upper trapezius region. The gallbladder, situated beneath the right lobe of the liver, is supplied by branches of this same nerve. When bile becomes thick and sluggish due to insufficient bile salt production, gallbladder distension can activate this referred pain pathway, producing what feels like a persistent muscular knot. Sign 19. Frequent or vivid nightmares. The amygdala modulates the brain's fear circuitry, and it is densely populated with thiamine-dependent receptors. When B1 levels are low, the amygdala operates in a heightened state, even during sleep. This manifests as disturbing or repetitive dream content, particularly involving themes of danger or pursuit. In older adults whose diets have shifted toward refined carbohydrates, this is a frequently overlooked symptom. Sign 20. Craving salty foods at night. The adrenal glands regulate sodium retention through a hormone called aldosterone. When sodium levels drop, whether from excessive sweating, inadequate intake, or adrenal fatigue, the body triggers a craving for salt. This craving tends to peak at night because cortisol, which helps regulate sodium balance, follows a circadian rhythm and reaches its lowest point in the evening hours. Sign 21. Stiffness or pain in the lower back. Vitamin D deficiency is one of the most overlooked contributors to musculoskeletal pain in older adults. Vitamin D receptors are present in skeletal muscle throughout the body, and when those receptors go unsatisfied, muscle tissue loses tone and becomes prone to inflammation. A 2018 meta-analysis published in Pain Medicine found significant correlations between low serum vitamin D and chronic lower back pain in adults over 55. Sign 22. Erectile dysfunction in men. Testosterone synthesis depends on zinc at multiple enzymatic steps. Zinc is required for the production of luteinizing hormone, which signals the testes to produce testosterone. It is also involved in the conversion of precursors to active testosterone. When zinc levels chronically underperform, testosterone output declines. This is distinct from age-related hormonal change and is a directly addressable nutritional issue. Sign 23. Persistent low mood or depression. Vitamin D has a direct regulatory effect on the synthesis of serotonin, the neurotransmitter most centrally linked to mood stability. Research from the University of Toronto found that individuals with clinically low vitamin D levels were significantly more likely to meet criteria for major depressive disorder. This is particularly relevant for older adults in northern latitudes who spend limited time outdoors. Sign 24. Muscle weakness or difficulty rising from a chair. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass, is accelerated by inadequate protein intake combined with low vitamin D and magnesium levels. The inability to rise from a seated position without assistance is a well-established clinical marker of advanced muscle decline. Protein synthesis in muscle tissue requires a full complement of essential amino acids, and deficiencies in magnesium impair the ATP production that powers every muscular contraction. Sign 25. Brain fog, slow recall, or difficulty concentrating. Vitamin B12 is essential for maintaining the myelin sheath, the protective coating surrounding nerve fibers throughout the brain and nervous system. As myelin degrades, electrical signals between neurons slow and become less precise. In older adults, B12 absorption declines because the stomach produces less intrinsic factor, the protein required to bind and absorb B12 from food. This makes deficiency common even in individuals who consume adequate dietary B12. Sign 26. Hair thinning or sudden hair loss. Hair follicles are among the most rapidly dividing cells in the human body, which makes them acutely sensitive to nutritional shortfalls. Iron, biotin, zinc, and vitamin D all play distinct roles in the follicle growth cycle. Thinning that progresses diffusely across the scalp rather than in a defined pattern is often nutritional in origin. In women after menopause, iron deficiency is a particularly common and correctable cause. Sign 27. Numbness or tingling in the hands and feet. Peripheral neuropathy, the loss of sensation or the presence of abnormal tingling in the extremities, is a direct consequence of B12 deficiency when it has progressed beyond the early stages. The peripheral nerves are long structures that depend entirely on intact myelin to transmit signals. When myelin breaks down due to B12 insufficiency, those signals become distorted or interrupted. This symptom demands prompt evaluation because nerve damage, if left unaddressed, can become permanent. Sign 28. Bone pain or unexplained fractures. Calcium and vitamin D work as partners in skeletal integrity. Vitamin D facilitates calcium absorption in the intestine. Without adequate vitamin D, the intestine absorbs as little as 10 to 15% of available calcium, compared to 30 to 40% when vitamin D levels are sufficient. The result is a gradual demineralization of bone that increases fracture risk without necessarily causing dramatic pain until the damage is advanced. Sign 29. Frequent infections or slow wound healing. Zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin A form the core nutritional foundation of immune competence. Zinc supports the production and activation of T lymphocytes. Vitamin C drives collagen synthesis at wound sites. Vitamin A maintains the integrity of mucous membrane barriers that prevent pathogens from entering the body in the first place. When all three are running low simultaneously, which is common in older adults with narrow diets, the immune system becomes significantly less capable of responding to threats efficiently. Sign 30. Heart palpitations or irregular heartbeat. Magnesium is the primary mineral governing cardiac electrical activity. It regulates the sodium-potassium pump within cardiac muscle cells, which controls the timing and rhythm of every heartbeat. Research published in the American Heart Journal has linked low magnesium levels to increased incidence of atrial fibrillation and other arrhythmias. In older adults, this connection is particularly sensitivity to magnesium loss increases with age.